Welcome to this edition of the Deep Dive Podcast. Today, we're taking a closer look at something that's quietly transforming how businesses work: the transition from traditional or legacy applications into modern AI-powered systems. We've got a ton of ground to cover, everything from how these new applications can actually chat with internal company data to how they orchestrate complex tasks behind the scenes. And joining us is someone who's been right at the forefront of this change, especially within the Microsoft Azure ecosystem. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this. Azure has really evolved into a platform that lets businesses build out these intelligent conversational solutions. We're not just talking about fancy chatbots. We're talking about a whole new approach to how apps are architected, from the data they use to the tools they rely on.
Let's start by painting a picture. Traditionally, businesses had these so-called legacy applications, old systems that got the job done but were kind of rigid. Maybe it's that clunky internal dashboard your finance team has used for a decade, or a payroll system that's stuck in the early 2000s. What's the difference between those older setups and the AI-driven ones we're seeing now?
The main difference is intelligence and flexibility. With legacy apps, you usually had a static user interface, a predefined set of actions, and maybe some complex reports that took time to generate. With new AI-driven applications, you introduce a conversational layer, an AI agent, if you will, that can understand natural language questions, tap directly into your company's knowledge base, and even perform tasks on the fly. You're not just clicking buttons and reading charts. You're asking questions in plain English and getting meaningful, context-aware responses back.
That sounds like a major shift in how people interact with technology at work. So, for example, if I'm in sales and I want to know last quarter's top-selling products in the Midwest, I just ask the system?
Exactly. You'd type or say, what were the top 3 selling products in the Midwest last quarter? And the AI agent powered by Azure services would know where to look. It might tap into Azure Cognitive Search, which indexes all your internal documents and data. It could call Azure Functions, lightweight bits of code that run only when needed, to pull information from an ERP system. The agent then uses large language models, like the ones you get from Azure OpenAI, to interpret the request, reason through the data, and present a neat, human-readable answer. No more digging through files or running manual queries.
That's remarkable. Let's break down these components a bit. You mentioned Azure Cognitive Search and Azure OpenAI. Can you explain what those are?
Sure. Azure Cognitive Search is a cloud service that helps you index and search large amounts of structured and unstructured data, like PDFs, documents, web pages, whatever you've got. It can also handle vector searches, which means it uses AI to find documents that are semantically related to your question, not just matching keywords. So if you ask, show me the policy about remote work, it finds the right document even if it never literally says remote work policy. But maybe telecommuting guidelines.
Now, you mentioned Azure Functions as tools the AI agent can call. Give me an example of what that looks like.
Think of Azure Functions as little helpers the AI can summon. If your AI agent needs to check inventory levels, instead of just searching documents, it might call an Azure function that queries your inventory database. If it needs to send an email or update a record in a CRM system, that's another function call. The AI becomes an orchestrator that doesn't just give answers. It can take action thanks to these tools.
So the AI agent has memory, it can call tools, it can search through data. That's a lot like having a really smart coworker who knows where everything is and can get things done. How does memory fit in?
Memory is key. Memory might be stored in something like Azure Cosmos DB, a globally distributed database. Without memory, each user request would be like starting from scratch. With memory, the AI remembers what you asked before, what data you're interested in, and can maintain context across multiple turns in the conversation. So if you say, show me last quarter's sales, and then follow up with, how does that compare to the previous year? The agent knows you're still talking about sales figures. Memory makes the conversation feel more natural and reduces repetition.
Great. Now, what about enabling non-technical staff, like marketing managers or HR specialists, to build their own little front ends or workflows on top of this AI-powered infrastructure?
That's where the Power Platform comes in. The Power Platform, Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents lets you build low-code solutions. That means you can create apps, workflows, and even chat interfaces without hardcore programming skills. A marketing manager could build a simple Power App that lets their team ask the AI agent for campaign performance data. Power Automate could kick off a workflow that alerts the team if sales drop below a certain threshold. It's about democratizing access to this intelligence so you don't always have to wait on the IT department.
That's a powerful concept. So I could have a scenario where the AI agent is integrated with my marketing data, and the marketing team has created their own little dashboard in Power Apps with a chat window where they just ask questions like, how did last week's email campaign compare to the one we ran last month? And the AI pulls all that data together for them.
Exactly. And it can do more than just answer. If it's integrated with tools, it might even say, it looks like last week's open rates were lower. Would you like me to schedule a new A/B test campaign? That's where it gets really interesting. The AI can go from passive information provider to active collaborator.
Let's talk about the agentic framework. That sounds a bit sci-fi. What does that mean?
The agentic framework is basically a way to structure multiple specialized AI agents within your overall system. Instead of one giant AI that tries to do everything, you might have a group of smaller agents, each good at something different. One agent is great at summarizing documents, another knows all about legal compliance, another handles translations. The main AI orchestrator decides which agent to call when. It's like having a whole team of virtual experts at your disposal.
And what about ensuring the quality and safety of these responses? We've heard a lot about AI sometimes hallucinating answers or providing content that's not appropriate. How do we handle that?
Azure AI content safety and good prompt engineering come into play here. Prompt engineering is about how you ask the AI questions, giving it the right instructions and context to reduce errors or irrelevant answers. Content safety tools scan the outputs to ensure they're not harmful or violating any compliance rules. Plus, there's continuous monitoring. You might have logging and alerting in place through Azure Monitor or Application Insights to catch strange behavior and refine your prompts and data sources over time.
So it's not just about building this once and forgetting it. It's about iterating and improving, right?
Absolutely. This is a living system. You'll start small, maybe with a single use case like a knowledge base for customer support. Over time, you add more data sources, integrate more tools, refine prompts, improve safety checks, and scale up. The idea is that you evolve these applications as your needs grow, as your team learns what works best.
And when we say scale up, what are we talking about?
We're talking about being ready if suddenly thousands of people start using the system at once. Azure provides Kubernetes services, load balancers, caching, and more to handle that load. You might also implement governance through Azure Key Vault for secure handling of secrets and set up role-based access so that not just anyone can change prompts or data sources.
This all sounds very cutting edge and complex, but for a business that's maybe never dabbled in AI, where do they start?
Start simple. Identify a high-value problem, something that takes a lot of human effort. For example, a customer support team that always answers the same FAQs, or a sales team that struggles to get timely reports. Begin by building a basic AI agent that can answer those questions from a set of documents stored in cognitive search. Then add a few functions so it can do simple tasks like checking order status. As you get comfortable, integrate the Power Platform so non-tech employees can build their own interfaces. Over time, you add more complexity, more data sources, and eventually you've got a fully orchestrated AI-driven system.
It's kind of like training a new employee, right? You don't give them the keys to the kingdom on day one. You have them do simple tasks, learn the ropes, then gradually give them more responsibility.
Exactly. You're training your AI ecosystem to become a valuable team member. The more you invest in good data, smart prompts, and well-designed workflows, the more useful the system becomes.
This is all very exciting. Before we wrap up, can we summarize the main takeaways?
Sure, at a high level.
That's a perfect recap. Thanks for making it so approachable. I think we've given listeners a good sense of what's possible and how they might begin their own journey into this AI-driven future. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing how businesses leverage these capabilities and what innovative solutions they come up with. It's truly an exciting time to be working with AI.
I couldn't agree more. Stay tuned, everyone, because the future of enterprise applications is here, and it's smarter, more responsive, and more conversational than ever. This has been the Deep Dive Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.